7 o'clock, we'll start the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 2nd, 2019 Dayton City Council meeting. If you could all please rise for a moment of silence and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tiffany, can we please have a roll call?
Mayor Baker.
Present.
Member Bolter.
Here.
Member Neary.
Yeah.
Member Baszler.
Present.
Member Cornett.
Here.
Member Burns. Member Lynn.
Here.
City Administrator Giffen.
Here.
City Attorney Etch.
Here.
I'd like to open up the floor for the audience participation. So if anybody would like to approach council and city administration, the floor is yours. Going once, going twice. All right, sounds golden. Now we need an approval of the minutes from the June 4th, 2019 meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Motion made by member Lynn,
Second.
second by member Volter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. We'll now move on to the ordinances portion of the meeting. Tiffany, if you would please, the second reading of 2019, number 13, the annual budget for 2019-2020.
City of Dayton, Kentucky Ordinance 2019 number 13. An ordinance adopting the City of Dayton, Kentucky's annual budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, and estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the city to the extent authorized by KRS 82.082 and the interpretive case law. This ordinance amends the budget for fiscal year beginning, I'm sorry, not amends, the budget, it says amends. This ordinance is for the budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020 for the general fund, municipal aid fund, parks, economic development, TIF, capital outlay, and the Sergeant Park Fund.
So that is the second reading for the 2019 budget, so we'll need a motion if you'd like for this to pass. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve 2019-13.
The motion has been made by Mr. Lynn. Is there a second? Second is by Ms. Cornett. Are there any comments concerning the budget of 2019?
I do, sir.
Yes, sir.
As in years past, I am once again going to vote against this budget because I do not feel it's fair to take $77,500 out of the park fund, which is roughly 77% of our park tax income, to be put into charges for services for park director and general use by Public Works. I think that needs to be separated out. Public Works is working in the parks. It should be billable hours or equipment or materials, but we've got people complaining that there's nothing to do for the kids and they should be having movie night and they should be doing this and that. We should be fixing up Dayton Pike Park and Sergeant Park and the other three parks. When 3/4 of your budget is gone, we have no chance to do that. So, spoken with Mr. Giffen about this previously. It's in the budget again this year. I don't feel that's correct.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments concerning the budget of 2019? We have a motion and we have a second, so Ms. Myers, if you'd please make a roll call vote.
Member Bolter.
Aye.
Member Neary.
No.
Member Baszler.
No.
Member Cornett.
Aye.
Member Lynn.
Aye.
Ayes have it. I'm happy with that. Budget passes. Move on to the resolution and orders. Resolution 2019, number 8R, naming the walking trail at Riverfront Commons.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, resolution number 2019, number 8R. A resolution by the City of Dayton, Kentucky, naming the walking trail at Riverfront Commons, Aaron's Cap, in memory and recognition of World War II hero, Private First Class Edward Aarons.
So the resolution's been made. Do we have a motion to?
I'll make the motion.
Motion been made by Ms. Cornett. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Neary. Do you have any comments?
I just have one,
Yes, sir.
and it's not, I mean, I agree with it, but I just wonder, how did we come up with that?
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up, Denny. So let's go back to Wall Canal, 1942, if I'm correct. My history's right. That was my bad, trust me. Mr. Aarons, Edward Aarons, he enlisted. He was a Dayton resident, born and raised on 2nd Avenue down in Dayton, now where the flood wall resides. He enlisted, went out and fought valiantly, and on the initial attack on Guadalcanal, he fought off men all night long while he was protecting American soldiers. In the morning they woke up and there was a bunch of dead enemy around him. And they asked him how many he killed. He said he couldn't tell you. And then as he was dying in the arms of his commander, he said, "I guess they just didn't know I was a Marine." So that's a Daytonian. And when we started looking at this way, in this area down there, we thought it was a noble way to honor his memory. He was awarded the Silver Star of the Navy, which is the second highest next to the Congressional Medal of Honor. So I thought it was an honor to his family and to his memory that we named that area where he grew up and he played as a kid in his name. So, you know, Mr. Neary and Ms. Cornett, they've done a lot of work on remembering this man the last year or so, and I thought it was a good idea to name that after him. And I approached South Bank Partners, who've done a lot of work with us. I mean, they've done the lion's share of work on getting this done, as far as getting the concrete poured, getting everything approved, et cetera. And they were all in favor. So I wanted to make sure I had their blessing. And I spoke with his family today, and they were elated to know that their family member was being honored in this way. So that's the story of how it came about, and that's why I thought it was important.
I mean, yeah, and I agree. And, I heard the story before. I was just wondering, the idea was okay, I understand.
Okay.
Not a problem. Ironically, he was born 100 years ago,
Yeah,
1919.
and we're going to do this was going to come from my new business, but we'll do it now. We're going to do the ribbon cutting for that space on August 8th of next month, August. And the reason being is that was the day that Mr. Aarons passed away. So we'll be doing that at 6 p.m. Everyone's welcome to join. His family will be there. And it'll be a great honor.
I mean, O'Fallon, at the entrance at O'Fallon?
At the entrance, yes, ma'am. So down by, is that what we'll do?
I would say to be determined, just based on.
We'll call it to be determined. It'll be either there or it'll be down on Manhattan Boulevard. That entrance level there is 2 entrances. So whatever's more convenient. So August 8th, if you're available, we'd love to see you down here to honor Mr. Aarons, and also the opening of a great new piece of Dayton's riverfront. So we have the motion by Ms. Cornett and the second by Mr. Neary. Any other comments? Tiffany, roll call.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Cornett?
Aye.
Member Lynn?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion passes. The next resolution will be Order 2019, number 9R, the sidewalk and lighting project along Kentucky 8X.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, municipal order number 2019, number R. A municipal order accepting conditions set forth by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department of Highways to be responsible for all future maintenance of sidewalks and sidewalk lighting constructed as part of project along Kentucky 8X.
The resolution's been read. Do we have a motion to pass it?
I'll make the motion to pass 2019-9R.
Member Neary's made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Close enough. Second by Mr. Walter. Do you have any comments concerning?
To speed this whole process up.
As speedy as government works. It's obviously something that we're very concerned with, and we want to move fast as possible. This was required by Kentucky, was it Department of Transportation? So as soon as we get this done, quickly move. Tiffany, roll call, please.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Cornett?
Aye.
Member Lynn?
Aye.
Member Bolter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Now we'll move along to the ordinances, and we have a first reading. The first reading is ordinance number 2019, number 14, Code of Ordinance to prohibit certain discriminatory practices within the city. Ms. Myers?
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance 2019, number 4. An ordinance creating a new chapter of the City of Dayton Code of Ordinances to prohibit certain discriminatory practices within the city. This ordinance creates a new chapter in the City of Dayton Code of Ordinance to prohibit certain discriminatory practices and includes several specific definitions, makes it unlawful to treat a person differently based upon race, color, national origin, sex and/or gender identity, religion, age, and/or sexual orientation with regards to public accommodations, housing, financial services, real estate, and employment. There are several specific and general exceptions outlined in the ordinance. An enforcement procedure through either the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights or the city, depending on the type of discrimination that occurs, is also included. In addition, victims of violations of this ordinance can enforce their rights under this ordinance through civil action in the local court of general jurisdiction. The ordinance further makes it unlawful for an offender to obstruct the process or retaliate. Penalty for violation of this ordinance shall be in accordance with the city's civil fine penalty schedule.
Thank you, Ms. Myers, and that was the first reading. Now on, I'm going to move the mayor's report next to your Michael.
Jim Ball.
Okay. So I want to bring up the city building. You know, we've been in contact with some other properties throughout the city concerning building a new city building. There is one property that we are very interested in. We've been working with the owner on that, and they have laid a price out now to. We've already dealt with KCF Engineering on some specifics of of what the city would need to operate and function as a city with the administration. So we met with a company, SHP, out of Bellevue, Kentucky, and Bellevue, Kentucky has asked that they'd be happy to help us configure this particular building into a city administration building. So I would like, they mentioned the price would be between $18,000 to $22,000. Am I correct in that, Administrator? So I'd like to ask council if it'd be okay for the mayor to enter into an agreement with SHP to do the investigation process into that, with the maximum amount being $25,000 for the cost of planning out that building.
What do we get for that?
We will get a complete overlay of what you just received from KCF on the new building, as far as office space, complete build-out process, and what it would look to cost to build that into a city building.
So we would get a cost estimate from that.
That's correct, sir.
Seems like a lot for a cost estimate.
Michael?
paid $35,000 to KZF to do the initial study. That included detailed analysis with the staff to figure out the needs. So that's basically the only thing this group would not be doing is calculating the needs assessment, which we've already done. KCF quoted us $25,000 to do this piece. SHP quoted 18 to 22, so it falls within that. It's pretty detail oriented. It's going to involve, several weeks. It was a 6-month process last time. So it's not just something they go quickly, put together. They need to get into the building, take the needs assessment and try to figure out how it lays out into the building. It's not just a quick sit down and do an Excel spreadsheet. They're going to look at the cost to
Has anything been developed with the negotiation of the price for the building?
It's-
I think I'd be nervous
It's,
putting money towards it without feeling comfortable with any sort of price that.
the price is set up $1 million.
I think in any business decision, you gotta have data of the what if. And, when you're making a 5, 6, 7, for the life of the loan, it'd be more like $10 or $11 million decision. I don't want to find out later that maybe we shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'll make the motion to approve allowing the mayor to enter into a contract with
SHP.
SHP.
Well, we don't have the funds, so Tom, I don't know if you want to chime in. I think we'd have to allocate the funding first.
Do we not have just set in general?
We have the economic development fund that we come out of, but it's not set by the ordinance.
Okay, well, we'll have to, they can go ahead and approve the contract, but we're gonna have to come back and, because technically you still have the money in the general funds that you planned on using it on other stuff down the road.
Correct.
And you're gonna have to come back and do a budget amendment to move that money from wherever it's, going to come from. So if you're gonna take it out of economic development at the end of the day, or reimburse that from economic development, you're gonna have to do just a budget amendment to move it. But they can go ahead and approve the mayor going into contract. We just have to, we're gonna have to, voting for that, it's pretty much gonna be one of those, they're gonna have to vote for the funds, or you're gonna end up blowing the budget.
Understood.
Or could we take it out of the reserve?
That's always a possibility too.
Okay.
It's the same,
Yeah, it's just adding more to the carryover line. Either way, you're gonna have to amend the budget to show where you're taking it from. But you can take it out of general today because you haven't spent all your general money for the entire year yet.
Understood. I'll stand by my motion then.
I'll second his motion.
Motion's been made by Mr. Neary and seconded by Mr. Baszler. Any more comments concerning?
I'll speak up from the employee side. I'd like to recommend, my recommendation would be to not waste $20,000 on this project. I understand that there's likely not enough support to build a new city building either, and that's fine. But given what we found out, the purchase price of this building, $1 million, to me, the figures that I run makes this building financially unfeasible. The second point is there's only 11,000 square feet in the 2 floors, and that's not even all usable space. Myself and Dave have looked at the figures. This is well below the recommended space that KZF presented. And lastly, the building is going to come with deed restrictions on resale and expansion. So personally, I think it would be money wasted to arrive at a conclusion that I'm telling you right now, that it's going to cost too much money and it's not enough space. So just wanted to give my input.
Appreciate your input, sir. Mr. Lynn.
I agree with Sarah and Michael did say to begin with, and the price of the building being $1 million. And we already have land that we spent over 10 years, 15 years, whatever, about $500,000 or so. And we own that land outright. My other concern would be parking down in that area if we have to buy another chunk of property from the diocese. So spending another $25,000 totally against doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
Could you have a
I mean, we have a critical need, don't get me wrong, and probably the most critical is the police department. But if you take the police department out of the equation, you're looking at office space of $1 million an employee. $1 million an employee. That, to me, is pretty expensive, if you take the police out of the equation. So, you know, I'm a little bit concerned about spending the kind of money that we are looking at for a new building. I think we need to explore all of our options. Maybe it'll come back too expensive, maybe it won't, but, you know, $1 million an employee is a lot of money to me. And we gotta find some solution for our police department. I know that. That's the priority.
Completely agree with you, sir.
My concern is the day that the wrecking ball starts going into that school building, everybody's going to scream, the city should have done something. And this is a due diligence to find out, is it feasible? And $20,000 out of a $5, $6, $7 million budget is a pretty small percentage to find out and have that answer, not just on our personal opinions, but on a professional opinion.
And I could also see if the administrators have moved out of their current building, that would allow more space for the police to at least spread up into those offices. And, I mean, I know it's not ideal to split the two, but as like a substation, if you're needed space, like we already have a building. I think as soon as the administrators would move out, I mean, we have enough buildings that we own now that administrators could perform their duties and just give the police and get them out of the basement. I think that's a great temporary solution, even while we go through this whole process of trying to figure out what a best option is for both. I think in the meantime, if we make that happen, that makes so much sense to me. Like, that's my opinion.
Any other comments? Well, the motion's been made, first and second, so I believe the roll call vote will be in order.
Member Cornett?
No.
Member Lynn?
No.
Member Volter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
The ayes have it. That is all I have for the mayor's report today. So, Mr. Giffen, on to the city administrator report.
I've got 2 special event applications. First is from the Dayton Eagles. It's their annual Battle of the Bands. The date is August 3rd, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 12 midnight. And they're requesting to close Berry Street between the alley and 5th Street. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by member Cornett and seconded by member Baszler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions?
Second one is for the annual Songs Festival, September 21st, from noon to 6 p.m. down at Gilman Park, I believe. No other special requests are needed. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Neary and seconded by Mrs. Cornett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions?
And I got an update from the Kentucky Department of Transportation regarding our request for a study and trial period for a blinking light or flashing red light, flashing caution light to some degree at 6th and Berry. Today, KYTC informing that they did a traffic count back in May before school let out. Their data did not support or warrant any change or any further study. I pressed them a little bit today. They're going to go back and re-review and possibly willing to sit down with the mayor and I. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. This is a little overkill. Riverfront Commons is, as Ben said, going to be opening towards the end of the month. I think we've said enough about that. And then lastly, SD1 approved our cost share project that we implemented for Belmont down towards Urban Terrace to put in a couple extra catch basins while they do some work there later on this summer. We don't have the exact cost. I think it was estimated to be about $30,000, 15 of it coming from us. So next meeting, I'll be bringing back requests for municipal aid funds. We don't think it's going to cost that much. That was just a quick estimate that we put together for our submission to them. It's a 50-50 cost share, so hopefully I'll have better numbers by then, by the time we get some bids. I'll bring that back in August. Anybody have any questions for me? That's all I've got now.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Giffen?
Mr. Giffen, an update on the water district project on Urban, 10th on up to Belmont?
Rick and I met with them a couple times this month. They haven't set specific dates, just still sometime this summer. We're looking to get to that project. They are going to be doing some curb replacement. We're going to tack on some curb replacement of our own at the same time. So that's something I'll bring to you all in the future as well.
I'm sure the property owners on Urban will be glad to see that.
Any communication from the Kentucky Department of Transportation on our right-of-way plan?
They have been in communication. The mayor did attest. We've been blowing them up on email, but it's still stuck in the same spot. Hasn't moved.
Right here.
Any reason for that?
Bureaucracy.
No reason. Let's just keep emailing them every week or every day. I don't care. I mean,
Please.
you know. Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Giffen? All right, we'll move along then. Mr. Evans, do you have a city attorney's report, please?
Nothing to report.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. For the department head report, if we could please ask Mr. Chief Atkins for your fire chief report.
Thank you, Mayor. You all received my report. I don't have a whole lot to add to it, but in fact, if you'll notice, overdoses are up last month. That's the most we've had since the first of the year. So I'm sure Chief Hatfield can attest that it's coming across the river. I mean, you'll see it on the news. Cincinnati's having a bunch of them, which kind of trickles across to us. So we actually have one today, as a matter of fact. So beyond that, I don't have a whole lot more to add to the report. If you all have any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, sir.
I like it.
Actually, Chief.
No.
Files getting away.
I want to commend the chief with the budget that he and the city administrators put together for this next year. All of our fire personnel are going to get an equal raise this year. You found the money in the budget to do that, and rather than some people blowing up, as has happened in the past, and other people not getting anything, the fact that you're doing it across the board, I think says a lot about your leadership. And I hope it goes a long way, along with your leadership, to retaining the great talent that we have on the fire board, or on the fire department now.
Thank you, first of all. In my report, I thought this is my first full year, and so our first time doing a budget. I took one accounting class in college, and I was like reading hieroglyphics to me. So I was a little nervous about doing it, but Mr. Giffen and Mr. Warnock from Bellevue were very instrumental in helping me. And it's like I said in the fire board meeting, I have, from 1 to 15, I have great people, and I'm doing everything I can to keep them. And you know, part of that is pay, part of it is having a good work environment and giving them somewhere to want to come to work. And that goes a long way when you have a job where you want to be there. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. So I appreciate that you saying that.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Before we go into the Chief Hatfield's, I want to also commend Chief Hatfield on two things. We had some interaction with some regional authorities on his police department's interactions with some operations, and they came out with major glowing reviews on the way that you operate your force, sir, and the way that the operations went. So that was amazing. The other night we had a pretty tense situation, and I was there firsthand and saw how they interacted with everybody involved, and it was incredible. You run a great force. You have some good guys behind you, and I want to thank you for being Dayton's police chief. So with that being said, what's your report, sir?
I mean, like Chief Atkins says, I mean, we got great people too, and, you know, we want to keep them around for a while, so hopefully we can do that. Yeah, we had a busy month this month. We had a drug investigation with the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force that we've been going with. We have an officer in the strike force from Dayton, so that kind of helps out. Director of the strike force lives in Dayton, so that helps out. So we came together and, you know, just had some issues we had to attack pretty much, and it's pretty much a message to certain community, I guess, of drug peddlers and things like that. And pretty much, you know, you're not going to set up in our city. You can do it somewhere else, you're not going to do it here. And that's the message. You know, we've reached out to these people, trying to get them help. They don't want help. They don't want to work. You know, they want to live in grandparents' basements and parents' basements, and you know, not contribute to society and things like that. It's pretty much the message. Joe Neary pretty much said the same thing. You know, it's not in our city. We're just not going to let them come to our city and set up shop. We send a really good message. So I want to give thanks to the Newport Police, Covington Probation Patrol, Fort Thomas, Campbell County PD, DEA, Sheriff's Department, and Strike Force for helping us out. It was definitely a joint effort. Anytime we came across something, we turned it in, and kind of actually led to some bigger cases that the FBI and things are picking up. So not only did it help our community, it helped surrounding communities. It helped take people from Covington, take some Dayton, Ohio, and Cleveland, just other areas, things that were coming up from, you know, Ohio into our Northern Kentucky communities. And not only did it help us, it just helped the Northern Kentucky area itself, just, you know, doing this. So I wanted to thank everybody on that. And then I want to thank the Kent County Regional SWAT team for coming out and helping us out with kind of a difficult situation. And the reason we have Kent County is I was on the SWAT team with Campbell County. We were with Newport Regional. Newport kind of wanted to go away from the joint regional team. They kind of wanted to have their own team. So Campbell County and other area police departments went with Kent County. So Kent County and Campbell County joined together. So we just kept it as Kent County Regional. So when people were at the scene, there were so many cruisers. You know, there were so many different cruisers from so many different areas because they are all members of the SWAT team. So Earl Anger, Fort Wright, Campbell County, Fort Thomas, you know, just everywhere. It's just a big joint effort that we put in. We've had to use them before, and I was on the team, the Kent County Regional team, so it's a very good team. So they did a very good job. The outcome was great. Nobody got hurt. Luckily, nobody got hurt. So I just want to give kudos out to Kent County and everybody who participated in that. My guys that, you know, along with the roundup and that SWAT call out, you know, handling the scene and the people, and it just worked out really well. So I could have been happy. Busy month.
Well done, sir.
Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Any questions for Chief Hatfield? Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Mr. Lyles, with your code enforcement report, please, sir.
Mayor, Council, good evening. For the month of June, you'll have a copy of my report, just a brief summary. There were 60 letters issued. 3 of those were grass cutting invoices. So there were 57 total letters issued by me. 24 were citations, 5 were nuisance citations, and 28 were violation letters. For the month of June, there were 28 cases that were closed. And just a brief summary for the semi-annual report, January 1st to June 30th, there were a total of 286 violation letters issued and 107 citations issued and 3 grass cutting invoices sent out for the first half of the year. And that's all I have. Questions, concerns?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the nuisance property, I know we have an ordinance that says three calls can constitute a nuisance. How do we get that, how does the average citizen get that put into place? I know, I talked to Tony a little bit about this before, you know, does the police monitor that we get these 3 calls and they send it to you? How does the average citizen report something?
We get together and just say, you know, sometimes it is hard when you work different shifts, you know, when, you know, sometimes different officers are at different addresses. So when we have roll call or when we come in for shift, we usually share information that, hey, we were at this so-and-so's address for this. And so, oh, well, I've been there 2 times or 3 times, you know, last week. So it's like, well, there's 4 calls right there. And then they'll send something to me, or, you know, then I'll get with Phil. We'll usually look into it first, check the CAD system, the reporting system, to see how many times we were at a specific address. And if it does meet the requirements, then I get with Phil and say, hey, we're having a problem with the address, we need to kind of nip it in bud. So that's kind of, and then citizens usually help out too. They'll come out and say, hey, you guys have been to my neighbor's house 3 times. You know, like one, I didn't know, you know, Beth, 400 block or 500 block before, I didn't know she was having problems with the neighbors across the street, you know, until she reached out and said, can you do something? And then I looked into it, and yeah, we were there like 7 times in the whole month of June or whatever. So then I got with Phil and, you know, saw that they were having neighbor issues, neighbor disputes. I went and talked to them, but that's just to quiet down the now. And then, you know, Phil will send out the letters. Just a combination of everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of complaints about it recently, and can the citizens fill out the form, the form that you have online and tell you?
Well, sure.
Can they do that?
They can throw out an address that they think there have been a lot of calls to, and if the police have went there, that'll come to me. It's basically police and fire. I mean, if we have drug issues or we have criminal issues, those type of things are what causes the nuisance citation to be sent out. 3 or more incidents, doesn't necessarily have to be calls,
right?
But it's 3 or more incidents within a 365-day period. So technically, each additional incident after 3 is another 3.
Yeah, the only reason I'm asking this is because there was a lady, I think she was from Silver Grove, that contacted me and said, there's actually a form, even though the police may monitor it, she said they go into the city building and fill out the form, and then that goes to the police, and then they decide. So I didn't know if we did something like that, maybe we didn't, I didn't know it.
Well, they can do it on the code enforcement form. It's basically, when I get the information from the chief, we'll sit down, the chief and I, we'll sit down and we'll go over the calls that have been sent to for that residence. Just because there are more than 3 calls there doesn't always constitute a nuisance property. Okay, there can be 10 calls there, but if there's only 2 calls that really fall under the nuisance ordinance, then as of that time, it's not a nuisance property.
Right, because there's definitions under the ordinance.
That's correct. So we don't, because we don't want to deter people from calling the police when they need assistance. The same with the fire department. So it really, we have, as he can tell you, thousands of calls. There have only been, I'm not exactly sure how many there have been this year, but it doesn't compare to the amount of calls. So it's based on the calls. If someone's there and there's a domestic, or someone there, if there's alcohol situation, a drug situation, then it becomes more involved. And what we're looking at is going after the homeowner, because a lot of these issues and incidents occur in rental property. And it's almost impossible, I kind of discussed this with the mayor today in a little brief synopsis, that we can't watch it on a case-by-case basis, because we're just overwhelmed and inundated with calls, whether it be for assistance or with the police department being proactive and the fire department doing additional things as well. We can't always keep track of every time we get a call
Right.
to a certain location because it goes through the dispatch. And once it's brought to our attention, as the chief said, through multiple officers or through residents reporting, then we get together, follow up, and then we decide whether or not we can issue a nuisance citation.
But doesn't the property owner have to be notified of the first and second?
Well,
I mean, you're saying the third time's a charm. I don't disagree with that.
I've done that. I've actually got with Tiffany or Donna and Phil to find out who the homeowner is or who the landlord is. And if I'm contacted, if I know who the landlord is, I got a list of landlord numbers that I call and say, hey, we've been at your house a couple times
Right.
for these issues. Most of the time they say, okay, thanks for letting me know. I'm gonna go ahead and talk with them. Most of the time that works. Sometimes it works. But, I do reach out to them. I mean, I reach out to the landlords or the owners of the property to let, once we get one or two, two usually, obviously, can't do it on every one, close to three and say, look, hey, there's more problems that are probably going to arise from this property. You need to do something about it.
Now, is that documented as, when we first got the nuisance ordinance, we basically took the Covington one, and we tried to apply it here. My understanding, and in rereading the nuisance ordinance, we may have left something out, may have to revise it. Their ordinance said, first time, if you deem it to be a citation, whether for code violation, excessive police calls, or excessive medic calls, the property owner gets a letter saying, you got a situation here, remedy it. The second time, he or she has to come up with a remediation plan. What he's going to do to take care of the issue, whether it's I hired a painter or we threw the guys out. The third time is when they get the actual fine, and we could even pull the occupational license. That was my understanding of how it was supposed to work. Am I incorrect on that?
our ordinance is not set up that way. I can send a copy of the ordinance out, or you can even get online and look at that, and you all can put your heads together and decide how you want to amend it or how you want to change it, but our ordinance is not set up anything
See,
like
there's
that.
some flaws in that, though. I mean, landlord could say, yeah, we kick the guys out. They get bad actors in month after month after month.
Well, it's on the property.
No,
It is
Well, it's
on the
also,
property.
no, let's say they have drug or domestic disputes. That's not on the property. What I'm saying is, you said remediation plan, they could kick the guys out. We kicked the guys out.
Right.
We evicted them.
Right.
So they get more bad actors in.
Well, it's 3 times within a calendar year.
What I'm saying is, that's not a remediation type of plan, just because they kick somebody out.
Well, I'd be satisfied with that if that
Not if they
alleviated the
rent,
problem.
not if they rent to bad actors,
Continual
Joe.
cycle of.
They keep bringing the same type of individual in, and
Well,
you
that's
keep
on
getting
the-
the calls.
But that is on the property. So if that property owner brings in another batch and gets a second or third citation, then that's when they're in the can.
I understand
We
that.
do have problems where landlords, they don't, they know the type of behavior and they want the money for
Right.
rent
Right.
and they disregard anything,
I know people who rent
Disregard that
properties
behaviors.
in Covington, and when they get a citation, or when some report comes into the police, they automatically get an email. Bingo. Last night, police responded to your property. They get an email. Now, I don't know how that system works. I don't know if it's related to the police system and somehow but I know that they get an automatic email. If they have email, they get it, boom. That next day, they've got it.
And I'd like to see something like that in place, because quite honestly, we do have a lot of absentee property owners, rental owners. Not all of them are bad. And some people interview really well, and then when you get them in there, you find out that they're a problem. But to all of a sudden have a $500 fine when you didn't even know there was a problem that existed there. That's what I'm trying to get at. Let's give these people a chance to fix
I mean,
it.
if you saw on the report, like last month, we had 865 runs.
Right.
You know, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with each one, so, you know, until, you know, we get together, I don't know what kind of system, you know, Covington has, you know, to find out when we're at that, yeah.
All right, like
I
when,
don't know which, you know, what kind of system they would have to flag it or let us know that we've been to that address multiple times, unless we usually by word of mouth get a complaint or,
right.
you know, neighbor complaint, or, you know, we find out between ourselves that, you know, hey, we've been there 3 times in 2 weeks, so, you know.
No, I'm saying if he writes a citation, or you have an arrest, or we have a drug call there for an OD, that's one. Whether it's first, second, or third, that's one. But the property owner really needs to be alerted to it so that they have the chance.
And I personally received that information, you know, especially with ODs, that I've called right after the first incident. I've called the landlord and let them know that this has happened on their property. We had one today, so it was happening, you know, at 4 o'clock, you know, I was at home. So it's something I'm gonna be, you know, looking into tomorrow and find out, you know, what's going on, who the landlord is, and let them know that this person was in their residence.
Right, whether it be formal or informal. If it's informal, obviously it can't count as, I mean, yeah, I talked to him on the phone, that never cuts it in court.
Right.
I'd like to see us move towards something like that. I think just to, let's say with these apartments down here that they're building, if all of a sudden we have a problem unit in there and we declare that a nuisance and the renting agent, whoever the agency is, doesn't even know about it, I don't know, as much as I get annoyed at absent people who don't live here, who just dump people into properties, I'd also like to give them a chance to remediate it.
Right.
So maybe we'll need to look at the ordinance on that. I'll work with.
One issue you might be dealing with is Spears Court. You know,
Right.
between fire runs and police runs, we're called to that address, how many times
No, gosh, I mean, 10, 15 easy.
Well,
It's in the fire side.
You know, if somebody's sick,
Well, and then we're called, you know, there too, and things like that, so.
well,
you know, that's,
if that's bleeding our resources, and if that's boosting our runs, then, you know, whether it be an individual unit in there or the whole complex, because it seems to be a big problem, that's the kind of stuff I want to address. They're running you guys dry here. Our ambulance is about wore out.
I agree, I think that.
Let me find out from Covington and my connections here, what exactly their ordinance was, and we'll have to talk about that on council and with Attorney Edge to see if maybe that's a better fit. Thank you.
well, that's another thing with them, is they have their own dispatch system.
Understood.
So they can probably tag it a lot easier and flag whatever, you know, I don't know if that can be done. Our dispatch, so.
Yeah, we'd have to keep accurate data because somebody could contest it. The other thing, Mr. Lyles, I sent you an email today, you responded, thank you very much. Could you give an update on the house at the top of Urban Terrace and Belmont that the city has taken over?
We've cut the grass, and then Mr. Giffen will have information as to sometime that will be torn down for later on this year.
Okay, it is slated for demolition, Mr. Giffen?
Yeah, essentially,
Okay. Is there any time frame on that? Because I've got neighbors asking.
no time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Council would like to approach Mr. Lyles.
Keep at it.
Thank you for your work, sir. Thank you for your report. Without further ado, Mr. Yoder with your economic development report, sir.
We had our first day of fleet last month. We had 6 vendors there. It was really nice. Unfortunately, it was a threat of rain, but it did kind of hold up. So everybody enjoyed it. Everybody did well. I will say I gave everybody $10 back because I thought for sure it was going to rain a lot harder than it did. But we got 6 vendors there. jewelry, household items. It was fun. Our next flea market will be July 20th from 9 a.m. to noon. Same day, excuse me, the citywide yard sale. So if you are up on the hill or in an apartment and you want to do a yard sale, we'll be having spaces down in the parking lot in the 600 block, 614 6th Avenue. There's 36 spaces there, so we'll be doing it there. And we'll be having it again in August, September, and October. Spaces are $10 if you just want a space. If you want access to electricity, we'll offer that for $20. I'm reaching out, especially even for the 20th, to some of the farmers market people to see if we can get somebody to come there and set some vegetables. Trying to see if we can do that time. Mentioned citywide yard sale, classic. While I've been here, it's always been the third Saturday in July. This is July 20th. You can sign up at DaytonKY.com/yard sale, which has been the same for the past 3 years. I am consistent. Or you can call the city at 491-1600 for those of you who don't use the internet. So that's it there. We had a Main Street Board meeting last Tuesday. It was a very good meeting. We had it at Hometown Heroes again. We planned on Bucks, but they had a special event, so we had the Hometown Heroes. Thank them again for their hospitality. Good meeting. One thing we discussed about was evaluating our marketing materials that we talked about at our last meeting, and talked about a lot of things associated with it, not only brochures, but one of the things, if you look, South Bank and Bellevue have done a real good job, I think, of putting up environmental graphics. You can see it around town, pointing out where things are. So we began to discuss with Ben and Joe were there, how can we do, looking at improvements to the entrance of the city at O'Fallon and 6th. Could we do environmental graphics? That's a fancy word for signs pointing you to where things are, okay? And helping Neil point out here, this way to the restaurant, this way to the marina, this way to the riverfront trail, this way to the school, and some arrows like that. And one of the things that I say it is sometimes you have a brochure that says you have all these things out, or you have it on our website, but if you're in your car, you can see, oh, I want to go to the high school. Oh, I follow this road to the high school. I turn on play, it tells me to come down here. Voila, I'm at the high school. I'm trying to go to the marinas, same type of thing. So my point on that was making the city our brochure, kind of the concept there.
Sure.
So we're working on that. We'll have some more meetings on that. We've got some really good with Jay Banks and Aaron Fox. We've got some talented people. We may bring in some people. We may put a call out to some people, see what we have around here, expertise around here, but we're working on it. Our next Main Street meeting is Tuesday, July 20th. This time we'll be at Bucks. We do a summer restaurant tour, per se.
20th
So we'll be
and
at,
30th.
what?
20th and 30th.
30th, did I say, I'm sorry, 30th. Getting my dates mixed up here with the yard sale. And I want to say we currently have 3 spaces open for business, open for rent. 526 is the blue building next to the city building. Really interesting space. The front part has recently been rehabbed, nice new bathrooms. There's kind of a workshop, potential kitchen where the old Southern Foods, for those who've been around forever, had their kitchen. There's still a hood in there. There's 3-phase electric. So it's interesting for the right kind of business that could use that. The old Gents at 530, that's up for rent. They just sent me the information on that today. So that's up for rent. And 620, the one that's been rehabbed, right next to Body of Art Tattoos in the middle of the block there. They might have somebody going in there, but that's another really nice space. Last time I talked to the landlord, the leases have been signed, so maybe somebody who's looking for that. So it's been kind of rare for the past couple of years that we had 3 spaces available at one time. And I think 2 are I think all 3 should go relatively quickly. They're all good spaces. Board of Architectural Review, I also run that. Let's start off with the Board of Architectural Review on July 9th at Bucks Barbecue. We had three COAs last month, 2 for painting, we approved paint colors, and 1 for J Banks, that's a native brand. He's putting up a new sign, so that's going through there, so that will go through the CCAP program. And I told Jay I would move forward on his contract as soon as our budget was signed, so I'll get that to him. I didn't have any money in the budget until we just passed it, so we'll go through and do that, so that's going real well. And we'll continue our articles in Dayton Community News about historic preservation, so this one will come up on that. And I wanted to touch on something that Councilman Bolton said. I met today with Larry Brown from the governor's office, and sat down, we had a 20-minute conversation about the challenges I've been having with this grant. So I sent him some information on it, and he's gonna try to push down and see where the problem is from the governor's office, to try and stop the water jam that way. We'll do that, and if it's stuck in DC, we're gonna reach out to Congressman Mass's office, because it's been over 6 weeks that I was told the 3 signatures were signed, and last Thursday or Friday we got the letter back, and there's still 3 signatures that need to be signed. So we need somebody to take this right away plan and get 3 people to sign it and get it back for us. So but I want you to know, Ben, Michael, and I are pit bulls on this. We're trying everything we can.
Appreciate it.
You know, I try to be understanding. I understand how bureaucracy works, the states, their challenges, but this has gone on too far for too long. You know, so I just want to let you know that we are not giving up. We're not pretending. You know, all of us are being honest, trying to figure out what can we do. So, any questions from council? Yeah.
On a Taste of Dayton, have you heard anything about being able to close Route 8?
No, have I. So, I've got another thing to do with that, with transportation council, so I'll give this a call. So that's all?
And one thing to bring up
Okay?
would be the Dayton Reds Night.
Yes.
It says September 6th, Great American Ballpark. We'll have a large amount of seats set aside for Dayton residents. Everyone's gonna be together.
Yep, all gonna be together.
And was it $10?
Yeah.
We're watching a Major League Baseball game. That's
And
extremely
do
cool.
check out the window display at the Heritage Museum.
Yeah, that's great.
Jay Evie from the Reds brought down tons of great swag and stuff, and got in there and decorated the window, and Jane and Elmer were just ecstatic, you know, at the History Museum, and there's great stuff in there, and he loved some of the old stuff that we had that Bob Schrage, Resident Bob Schrage had donated in there, and some other stuff. And it was really kind of a fun day, and I took him out of the box.
Great.
You know, he had a good time, and he really enjoyed it.
How do we get the tickets?
We're working on that, so we're working with Jay on that. We'll have a way to sign up against it.
The Reds have a nice website you can go to and take a promo code or something like that. Like hashtag DaytonKY or whatever, and it'll be able to give you that discounted price.
So we'll get that out on social media and the Dayton community.
We're gonna work with them, so like maybe a kid give like the starting lineup to the umpire, maybe get a kid on the field or something like that. Should be a fun time.
There'll be Dayton night and some other events there, so they're working on special things that we can do, and there's different things we can do. All right.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Yoder. That concludes the portion of department head reports. So move on to correspondence.
I don't have any.
All right, thanks, Debbie. Any petitions? No petitions. Unfinished business.
Several things.
Several things. Mr. Volk, please.
I mentioned this last meeting, and I know we've given everybody a 3% raise across the board, but again, I would really like us to look at, especially some of our lower paid employees, if we can do a little bit better, just to keep a consistent base of people on board. You know, we got a group of people at that bottom scale that really could be boosted, I think. You know, and I know I'm okay with giving 3% across the board, but some of those people are so low, that 3%, you know, 3% of $1 is 3 cents, 3% of $1 million is different, so it's that kind of thing. So again, I just want to bring to the attention of the Finance Committee, the Mayor, and the City Manager, if we can do something, especially with those lower scale people.
We have a meeting we're scheduling right now, Jeff, on that exact.
So currently in the budget, there's several employees that got more than 3, so we're completely across the board. But I finished a salary report 2 weeks ago. I sent that out to the Finance Committee, get a copy of it. We're gonna try to meet this week, maybe early next week. As soon as they review it, I've got in there a lot of information, a couple different options on what the city could do, choose to do in terms of long-term strategy or just short-term strategy. As soon as they review it, we'll kind of come up with their thoughts, and then we'll send it out to you. I'll probably likely sometime next week after we meet, so you all get a chance to digest it. I figure whatever you want to do, we could bring it up in August, and then whatever comes about, we can always retroactive back towards July 1st. So hopefully you'll have that information next week.
Great, appreciate it. Thanks for your work, guys. The other thing, you know, while I'm pleased we're working on some signage and those kinds of marketing issues within the city, are we, what's our kind of the end date to look at the branding and the regional marketing to attract people to our city? Have we started on that, or are we?
I think it was left where some of the council members were going to get together and start to.
I'm definitely interested. I want to do that. I mean, I'm just.
I made a request for Bob to put all of our branding together for us to see what we're working with, to see what would need to be changed and what we have to work with, and I have yet to receive that.
Councilman Dessler, I actually went and looked at it. Was still inside your mailbox when I checked today, and I pointed it out to the mayor and the city administrator. I'm sorry there's not much, but it was there. So you may want to go look. You know what? Actually, sir, I did bring a copy of it here with me.
Thank you, sir.
To say I didn't do it was wrong. I think you can look closer at your mailbox.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
This is all of our branding right here for the entire
That's
city.
a brochure.
I don't know how I missed it.
So, getting back to my original statement, I mean, this needs to be a pretty comprehensive group of people, I think, not just a couple of us on council. I mean, you gotta have some citizens, you gotta have some business people. You know, originally, we talked about bringing these people in that are marketing these apartments and that kind of thing. So, I mean, Michael, I'd like to just get together with you and kind of put a structure in place.
Sure.
So that we can start to reach out to different groups of people.
Yeah, what I mentioned last meeting, as we kind of got into a small discussion, we talked about, you know, elements of the website, you know, there's other elements of marketing, so there's, I believe it was left that you all going to come up with what you all wanted, but more than happy to meet.
Yeah, I don't know, whoever else wants to meet is fine, I don't care who's involved, I just want to try to put a structure in place so that we can then start the process. Because it's got to involve a multitude of people.
On that point, we were waiting for the Main Street Board meeting, which was just last Tuesday night, and Bob brought this brochure that we had printed up a couple of years ago, and there was some discussion on the Main Street Board about marketing. So the fact that, and as Scott said, we were kind of waiting on that to see what the Main Street Board would come up with. Whether that's the best arm or the only resource to use, that's a good question, actually. I'm with you. I think there needs to be a lot of input, especially since we only have 4 members currently on the Main Street Board.
Yeah, I think.
4 new members.
I mean, I'll talk to you, and we'll send out an invite to anybody that's interested, and then we'll start to look at putting the structure together, I think. Help us get the ball rolling.
I'm just confused is all it could be, because I've never even seen this before. And I'm looking at the police patches and the signs around town, like those are all parts of branding that we have already that need either to be reworked or whatever. So when I asked for what we currently have in place, I'm talking letterheads, I'm talking all pieces of branding that go to help show what the city is. And Bob mentioned that Red Dot was already promoting Dayton, and we haven't seen anything like that of what they're using to help promote us. I mean, if I have to go into the computers to look for letterheads and all that, I mean, I'll do that, but this is not what
I think you need to be a little bit more specific about what you want. Just saying you want an item,
branding.
marketing material.
I guess
You're all the ones that
the
stepped up
argument-
last meeting and said you wanted to initiate this, so initiate it. Tell us what you want, and we'll get whatever you want.
I think the disconnect here, Scott is, that's what he does. You know, Scott's in marketing, Scott's in branding, so.
Great, tell us the foundation.
But I mean, I think he's given it to you now, maybe you can do a good job of writing up an email or and submitting it to council and administration saying, I want the letterheads, I want the logos, I want to see these things. Am I
Yeah, that was
right
our
with that?
brand.
Rather than just saying branding, because
Everybody understands what that means.
Okay.
What I would suggest, just a suggestion, have an open forum meeting, invite citizens, invite the people from Red Knot and from down here if they can attend. Just have an open meeting with the invite Main Street Board, et cetera. Just a clarification, when we had the Home Fest down on the river, when they first built the homes down there, Beth and Doug actually created this, that's Tina Nyer was still Main Street Director. And this was the kind of thing we were looking for, to be able to hand out to people coming in the first time. Now, as far as the branding with the patches and what is our actual logo and everything else, that was above and beyond. We just wanted to get something out there to say, welcome to Dayton.
Right.
You know, and here's basically what we have, and you go to our website and find all this information. I'd suggest rather than, with our schedules and stuff, and meeting during the days and everything, I can't. I'd love to be involved in this. I say, schedule an open meeting here or anywhere.
I'm all for a brainstorming meeting where the key is you need to have a specific agenda so that it doesn't go off the rails.
Right.
What will that agenda look like? What are your goals for the meeting? What do you want to accomplish? And then are you going to send out specific invites, or are you just going to advertise it? Because, there are specific people, I think, or groups that would behoove us to have present. So, those are just some kind of logistical things that I think we need to make sure we have ironed out before we, like the comprehensive plan type of meeting that we had, that, I thought it was very beneficial to get everybody's input on those issues that we dealt with. But again, you've got to have a specific agenda with some goals you want to accomplish, and then those specific groups, make sure they receive their invites.
You do this professionally, correct? Would you be able to put together a written, whether it be an agenda or what exactly you're looking for, and share it with everyone?
I mean,
Just
my
a quick
job
outline.
is photography, and I work in the marketing department. My professional role isn't rebranding cities or coming up with the rebrand. We do have a professional in the room who might be able to speak to that, who I believe designed this. Do you feel that a community input session needs to happen first, or do you think we should come up with
Let's
more?
hold up on that. We're not gonna, I don't think you wanna get into the community input in the middle of the meeting. You've already had that opportunity.
I don't know, go on, Mr. Bisbee.
I mean, I was just thinking of strategy. I think to put a whole community together first is probably not the best way. I feel like maybe trying to hone in and then start gathering ideas of what Dayton is as a city to help accumulate what our brand could be. But I think strategically, we might want to just consult with professionals here. Like,
don't disagree. We're amateurs at this.
Right, and that's why
We
people
see
pay,
through
they
our
pay
eyes.
marketing agencies to do this for them. It's not something that cities are like, all right, this is gonna be our new thing, but we just need to consult with a professional, just like we're doing with the building. It's no different. Like, we are building how people want to view our city. And that is an important step, and it's an investment. I'm not saying it's gonna be free. Like, you want professionals to do this, you don't want a whole bunch of people that don't do this for a living to come together and give their ideas as the first thing. First, we just need to consult with professionals.
So I think maybe starting small, since this conversation started with this group up here, like Jeff said, maybe just a few of us get together and what is it that you, what are your ideas on that? What does it mean? And what Jeff has in mind may be different than what Scott has in mind. Let's just get all those on the table first. And then from there, you need to have to put together some sort of scope on what it is these ideas are before you unleash it to the public. Otherwise, you're just going to be running ragged. So I think maybe starting small, and then when you have a better structure, as Jeff said, of what it is you mean by marketing, whether that means website, whether that means material, whether that means large-scale advertisement, who knows? Then you kind of take the next step and take it to the public and get their ideas on how to expand on those ideas for budgets.
Jeff, your suggestion was for you to meet with Michael during the business.
Well, I just want to get something rolling. I don't care who meets. I mean, we can be more than just me.
No,
but
just to outline it.
Yeah, I want to put some kind of structure in place so that we can kind of get started. Yeah,
I'm fine with that. I'm available evenings and weekends, but
yeah.
outside of office hours.
I'm fine. You know, I just want to get some kind of structure to this so we can specifically start the process. You know, that's all I'm after. I just think we got a lot going on, and it would behoove us to get it out there in a way that's going to attract people to our city. That's it. That's all I got.
So I would say next step, why don't you touch base with Michael?
I'll touch base.
And Scott and I would be glad to help out. We can maybe arrange something.
There you go. Come on. Yeah?
With that in mind, I will say that last night on Kentucky Sports Radio, hosted by Matt Jones, it's a statewide podcast radio station out of Louisville. He mentioned that he was over downtown watching the Reds and he wanted to support a Kentucky business, so he didn't want to eat dinner downtown. So he said that he went over and he went through Newport, not to knock Newport, Newport's got some fine establishments, but he found himself in, he mentioned Dayton, Kentucky, 15 times? About how great Purple Poulet was. And it was top 7 of his restaurants in the state of Kentucky. So with that marketing, branding, getting our voice out idea, I agree with you guys, and it behooves everyone who's interested in our neighborhood to listen to that from yesterday's Kentucky Sports Radio, to listen to how he just on and on about how cool Purple Poulet was in Dayton, Kentucky. So I appreciate your passion on this. It is important.
In the past, where has money come from to go towards marketing? Like, where can we find money from the budget?
From Main Street.
Main Street.
Main Street.
And we have $1,000, I believe, in the budget for the whole year for marketing.
Yeah, something to this degree would be outside that scope, but that's what.
Right.
And we can amend that budget.
Understood. I think we need to decide should be. And on what?
That's all I do.
All right, Mr. Volker, appreciate your time. Unfinished business continued on. Anybody else? If you're finished with unfinished business, how about new business? Anybody for new business? Is there any reason for an executive session this evening?
No, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Edge. If there's no reason for executive session, if someone would like to make a motion for adjournment.
I move.
Mr. Mary seconded. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for your time.